Hey everyone! So this is going to be my first Inktober video. I was planning on uploading this last week, but I was ill and didn't manage to make enough drawings to have a video. So I'm uploading this now, and I'll probably have another one in a couple of days. Before I jump into talking about this year's Inktober drawings, I quickly wanted to let you know that I am going to be doing a second edition of my 2018 booklet that I ran out of last year. So if you're interested in getting yourself a copy of that booklet, I have pre-orders opened up on my shop. I am planning on getting those 2018 booklets printed around the same time I'll get my 2019 booklet printed, so that will probably be around mid-November sometime. Keep an eye out on my social media for some updates. I've also made available on my shop a very limited number of 2018 and 2017 booklets. I think I've got about 8 of each, and they come with an original ink sketch in them. So if you're interested in having one of those very limited edition booklets, you can go to the link in my shop in the description below. Now for my 2019 Inktober, I will have prints available for my drawings as I go along throughout the month, so regularly check up on my shop if you're interested in getting prints of any of the drawings I create in the next few days. And I will also have the originals available at the end of the month. You're welcome to reserve them in advance if you want one specific one and you're worried it'll sell out. Just send me an email and I'll reserve it for you. And I am planning on getting a sign put together once I finish the challenge. Also, I am hoping to make it a little bit smaller and more affordable than my previous Inktober booklets, so keep an eye out for that. But enough self-promotion. I'm sorry for that little segment. I hope it was okay. I've had a lot of things happening that I wanted to update you all about, but now let's jump into talking about this year's Inktober. So I did say I wanted to take this year's Inktober a little bit more easily than previous years, partly because I've got so much to do next to Inktober, so I can't just spend my whole day on a big piece, but also because I have a lot of repetitive stress injuries and I have just a lot of pain on my right side that I'm taking care of. I'm going to see a physio and a doctor, and I'm doing exercises and stuff, but I still don't want to strain my arm too much and my shoulder and all that, so I decided that I would try and take Inktober as easily as I could and just kind of go with the flow and do a drawing when I feel like it and not necessarily try and keep up with every single day. I do plan on doing all 31 drawings. If they don't happen all during the month of October, then it's fine. I'll just do what I did last year and kind of overlap with November a little bit. We'll see. I'm trying not to stress myself up about it and trying not to injure myself further, so that's why, you know, I'm saying all this while I'm drawing my most detailed drawing yet with so much hatching texture. I wanted to do that for the first day because I had some new fine liners and pens that were sent to me as a gift, and I really wanted to try them out, so that's why I did this for the first day. It did remind me that it was probably not a very good idea pain-wise, so I'm toning it down a little bit for the next few days, but I do love my tiny hatching textures. I do feel frustrated when I can't do it, but I do have to be realistic and be better with myself. But anyway, this was my first drawing. I'm always more excited about the first day, that you always have more energy for the first day of the challenge, so that's why you see this here. I really like this drawing. I would have done quite a bit differently, I think, now that I look at it again. But that's what I find is quite interesting with Inktober. For my bigger concepts for painting and stuff like that, I do spend normally kind of days or even weeks thinking about the concept and the composition. I do thumbnails and colour comps, and I explore how best to show the idea I have. For Inktober, I have to be a lot more raw, a lot more direct. I have to spend less time thinking about things, which is really good. I think personally it's a really good exercise because it makes me learn about my first instincts and how to fine-tune them and how I can change things later on. When I look at the finished piece, I get an idea of the mistakes I make when I jump into something too quickly. It also shows me the value of instinct, which is really interesting and partly why I love doing Inktober so much. I used a lot of fine liners for my first drawing. As you can see, there was a lot of very fine detail. I realized that was not the best choice for my wrist and my pain in my right side, so I switched to using calligraphy pens after that. I bought, you can find all the supplies I used for this Inktober in the description below if you're interested, but for my subsequent drawings I'll be using some felt felt tip pens, calligraphy felt tip pens, I believe. They have a much softer tip than fine liners would have, and so they are a lot easier on my wrist and elbow and shoulder, and I can still have a nice line variation. So this is what you're seeing me using here, and what I'll probably be using for the rest of the month also. So in case you're wondering, I'm following the official Inktober prompt list this year. This is the first time I'm doing this since 2015, I think. I haven't followed the Inktober prompt list very often because I always found prompt words to be more hindering to my ideas than they were helpful. I'd stress too much about having an idea that fit the prompt rather than just going with an idea I just had. But this year I feel a lot more comfortable in my ability to come up with ideas. I have a lot of concepts I want to explore, and so I thought it would be interesting to try and fit my style to the official Inktober prompt, so that's what I'm following. So the first day was rings, the one with the character cut in half. But then I fell ill for the rest of that week, so I missed out on day 2 and day 3. I've caught up with them since then. I'm still behind on a few days, but that's okay. I'll just keep trying to catch up as the month goes on. But the drawing you're seeing me do right now is for day 4 with the prompt word freeze. Initially, I was a little bit worried about the fact that I was behind already within the first 3 days of the challenge. But you know what, it's actually kind of useful to be a bit behind when you follow official prompt words, because it means that now every day I get to choose which one I want to catch up on and which one I've got more ideas for. So it kind of turns out to be actually quite convenient. So you'll see that it's a bit all over the place the next few days that you'll see. I think you'll have my day 2 and then my day 5. It's all a bit of a mess, but hey, it's drawings for Inktober, so... Oh, and I completely forgot to mention, you may have noticed that I'm drawing on square pieces of paper, and part of the reason for that is that I'm thinking of maybe, don't quote me on this because I have so much to do and I keep adding projects on top of everything and you never know, but the idea is that I would very much like to maybe attempt to do a calendar with some of my Inktober drawings from this year. We'll see if I get around to actually having the time to do so. I think I'll enlist the help of my patrons to probably help me choose which ones can go in the calendar, and if I manage to put it together, I'll make it a 2020 calendar. We'll see. I'll keep you updated if you're interested, but I thought I'd just mention this idea to get feelers out there and see what you guys would like, and if it's an idea that you'd be excited about. Rewatching myself draw these Inktober drawing is always a little bit unnerving because I see all the things that I should have done differently that kind of don't really work and that kind of really bug me as mistakes. But I think that's part of the process, isn't it? I think those videos have been really helpful when it comes to distanciating myself from my work and actually analysing how I can make things better, the things that I should probably change in the future when I try to attempt similar pieces of work and that kind of thing. So self-reflection is really important, and it's something I stepped away from because I was afraid of it for a long time. So if I finished a drawing, I would really look at it again because I knew I would find things that would annoy me, and I found it difficult to deal with that because it was almost a symbol of failure to me that I could see things that were wrong with my work. But actually, as soon as I started not shying away from that feeling, I started really improving. And so if you guys are worried that you're stagnating or you don't really know what direction to take with your work to make it better, I strongly recommend looking back at pieces that you've done a few weeks or a few months ago and try and write down the things that you don't like about them, and then try and research how you can make them better. So if it's anatomy, just, include some anatomy exercises or studies in your daily drawing regimen if you have one, or weekly, or whenever you manage to fit it in. If it's values that you don't find work out but not sure exactly why, then study the work of people who really know what they're doing and things like that. That's definitely something I've been trying to do more of, and I find that watching myself work with those videos was initially quite unnerving when I first started uploading videos on YouTube, and then now I think is actually really helpful, even if it's not necessarily comfortable. So this drawing right here that you just saw me finish was for day 5. The prompt was build. And the next one in this video, the last one in this video in fact, will be for day 2 I believe, and the prompt was mindless. It was actually quite frustrating to be ill for day 2 and 3 of Inktober because the prompt words were respectively mindless and bait, and I had very precise ideas for both of those prompt words, which is not something that I can say for most of the prompt words in the list. A lot of them are quite difficult for me to come up with ideas for, or I have too many ideas and I can't choose one that I feel most comfortable with. So I'm intrigued to see where the month goes, because a lot of the words in the rest of the month are a little bit tricky for me, but that's part of the challenge, and that's part of why I decided to do the official prompt list, is because I wanted to challenge myself to work with prompts that I'm not particularly inspired by. I would quite like to do commission work in the future, to do work for, you know, CD covers and book covers and that kind of thing, if I can get myself in that side of the industry at some point. So working with stuff that doesn't feel inspiring initially is a good way, for one, to train my inspiration and my imagination to kind of meld and fit to things that I wouldn't usually find particularly inspiring. But trying to adapt to outside prompts that I didn't have any input in is also just a good practice to get into, to practice for client work. So the drawing you're seeing me do right now is actually the second iteration of this concept. I had this idea of the face paper garland for mindless, and I really liked it. I did the first sketch, but I really didn't like it. I can't quite pinpoint why I didn't like it. It just didn't feel right. You can see on Patreon if you're interested in seeing like the sketches I do for Inktobers and the ones that didn't work out and stuff like that. But for some reason I didn't like the first sketch I did for Inktober for this particular day, and so I had to quickly sketch something again, and ended up being this one that you can see here. It probably wasn't the wisest decision for something like Inktober, because you have a limited amount of time to fit a drawing in during the day, and it was getting late towards the end of the day when I decided to redraw this one completely. But I'm actually really happy with how this one turned out in the end. And so here you go, my first 4 drawings for Inktober 2019. I'm really happy with how Inktober is going so far. I definitely see a lot of improvement in how I can translate what's in my head onto paper. Every year I find that Inktober really helps me improve the aspects of my work, and this year is no different. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little series. I'll see you in a couple of days for the next 4 or 5 drawings, and yeah, take really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.